Hello and welcome to A Sister's Back. Hope you all had a great week. Um, hope everything went well. We here in Calgary have the sun is out, the weather is really cool, it's amazing. But yesterday it was terrible. It was just cloudy, overcast. It was just bad. Is it good over there where you are?
Well, that's what I'm actually thinking that this May has been unusually cold, even here. I was talking to a friend who was traveling in Osoyoos, and he was saying the same thing that, oh, even Osoyoos, because it's generally really warm in Osoyoos, and it's not. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
taking a
weather.
long time.
The weather is not quite summer yet, even though it's supposed to be. I don't know. By this time last year, we were well into summer, I think, unless if I'm remembering wrong.
I don't remember. I just
Yeah.
expected May to be warmer, but oh well, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Anyway, today's topic is really, really interesting. I feel like it's one of those topics that I really need to hear. I'm one of those people who does not think of my first thought is not of, taking care of myself. I do so many things in terms of, work. I've got other projects outside of work and all this, and I definitely forget to pamper myself, forget to take care of myself, forget to get that me time that I absolutely need.
Hmm.
So today we want to talk about the importance of taking care of yourself, and just for us to give tips and tricks on what we do for ourselves, and also other things that we've heard that would work to rejuvenate and refresh your mind and get you to that place that you need to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what comes to mind when we're talking about self-care and taking care of yourself as a person?
Well, actually, this is a timely topic because today is Mother's Day, right?
Hmm.
And I know
Oh,
a lot
happy
of
Mother's
our
Day, everybody.
yeah, I know that a lot of our listeners are mothers, and I can only base it on I don't have any kids yet. I can only base, I guess, the experience of being a mother based on my mom, who didn't take care of herself at all, and then my own sisters, right? And so being a mother, based on what I've seen, is it's a sacrificial role. You are taking care not only of your own kids but of your partner as well. And by the time that day is done, there's not enough time for you to do that self care for yourself. But lately, what I've been hearing a lot of is you can't give from an empty vessel, right? So you need to really take care of yourself and feel good about yourself for you to be able to take care of others. So when I think
Hmm.
of, self care as well, I think of being intentional about carving out that time to take care of yourself. Well, you'll stop hearing about it in a month. I moved because I have to be settled where I am. But I moved and I've been unpacking. And one place that I decided to unpack, well, it makes sense, the bathroom, right? But today is day 3 of me unpacking, and I made sure that I looked for my box with my bath salts, with my body scrubs, with my candles, because I've decided that every once a week, and it's typically at the end of the week, I'm going to do a full body pampering and actually have a bath, because I find when you take a bath, you really relax.
Hmm.
And whether you're playing music or you have candles around yourself, I find it's really relaxing. And so that's one thing that I think I'm going to be intentional about, carving out that day at the end of the week to do that particular pampering of my body, I think. Yeah. So that's my
Yeah, it's
plan.
definitely important. It's
Mhm.
important to carve out time and just take care of yourself the same way that, you know, you would another person that you love or that you really, really care about.
Mhm.
Because that's the way to, to showing yourself love.
Yep.
And, for me, it's, taking baths and all that good stuff. And then also, what I've decided on doing is to, you know, find excuses to dress up. We
Yes.
don't do it that often. We're always constantly like, if we're gonna go out, it's always like jeans and t-shirts, or maybe a dress or whatever. But you never really like dress up, like, dress up, like put on a cocktail dress or put in a ballroom gown or whatever, and
What will you do?
find an event or make up an event to actually go and enjoy yourself. There's
Yeah.
so many there's so many places that require you to have formal attire
Mm-hmm.
or formal dressing, and the ambience is like really amazing. You don't have to do it all the time, but once in a while, take yourself out. Date night. If you have somebody you're with, whether your husband or your boyfriend, you can go out and find something to dress up for and go out and go do date night. But even if you're by yourself, take yourself out, give yourself date nights to go out and just pamper yourself.
Yeah, speaking of date nights, I wish I could. I can't find my calendar. It's probably in one of the boxes I packed it in. But I actually bought a calendar to put my date night. And so my date night is Thursday, right? So whether it's that time of the season where I'm going for a facial, or go somewhere for someone to cook for me, and so that can be a restaurant, or you get invited somewhere else,
Hmm.
or or self-care might actually be taking yeah, with the gas prices, but even just taking yourself on a on a drive. I find it opens up your mind. It actually relaxes your mind when you go to a different environment. So just taking a road trip by yourself. But I wanted to
Vacation.
piggyback on I guess two things that you mentioned. The first one was dressing up. um, so yesterday I took a little girl to watch Matilda, and it was live on stage. And I had every intention to dress up in, like, to put on a dress, but I couldn't find. Yeah, I couldn't find. I guess my dress is what I wanted to wear, so I ended up just wearing jeans and a nice top. But it was so cute when she came out. She was wearing a sparkly dress, right, like her sparkly church dress, and then she was wearing sparkly boots, and then
Hmm.
she had a cardigan, and she dressed herself, and then she had her little handbag, right? And I thought that was so cute. And I thought to myself, this would have been complete if I'd done the same thing. But I'm also trying to, be an example to her that it's nice to dress up, right? It's nice to put on, well, she's too young for, like, makeup or what have you. But, it's nice to put, a nice, lipstick, a nice perfume, do up your hair. And when I think of going to the theater, like, I know, for instance, I noticed, the older people who were there, they dressed up because they were going to the theater, right? And then also what you talked about
Or even going to the opera. Like, um,
yeah,
people
so that's
don't
part of
don't
the, like,
people
sorry,
don't
go
do it
ahead.
as much as they should now. But going to the opera also gives you an excuse to dress up, because normally, but I find more and more as you go to the opera, people are dressing down now. It's not abnormal to find somebody dressed in jeans. Whereas back in the day, going to the opera, people were dressed in, penguin suits, and the women were like decked out in like long dresses and like lavish looking. But now it's like dressing down, but that should not even stop you from dressing up and making yourself feel the way that you want to feel.
Yeah, because you set a standard, and so when you set a standard for yourself, actually, it's amazing how many people you can inspire. I have a colleague,
Hmm.
and I noticed over a space of 2 weeks, like, each time, because she wasn't doing that, but her face was made up, and she was wearing all these pretty tops, and I thought, oh, it's because it's spring. But then she actually said, you know what? I got to a point where I was feeling very unmotivated with a lot of things. And I realized part of that reasoning was because I was just putting on tights and a sweater, what have you, and then sit on the computer and start working. Right. And she said, well, when I became intentional about, taking out that time at the beginning of the day in the morning to do my facial, because she has a facial routine. And then, putting on whatever makeup she wanted and a nice top, she was taking out that time before her her family woke up and things became chaotic to actually do that self-care. And speaking of colleagues, and then that's the thing, I think when you talk to people you share ideas. I was talking to another colleague on Friday. We had a virtual coffee and she was telling me about, like, she used to be a culinary, she used to be a chef, right? And so I got intrigued because I want to get into cooking more now. And then she said, well, I don't cook fancy meals when I'm by myself. When I'm by myself, I just do whatever. But when I have people to cook for, I make the effort. And then I say to her, you know what? I've gotten more into cooking. And my adopted mother, Cheryl, got me this really, it's like a bone china. It was made in Germany, a set of, like it's a bowl, a plate, and a cup, like very fancy. And I remember her when I saw that set, I say to her, oh, you should get me this, when I got married. But she said, no, I'll get it for you soon. And so she got it for me for my birthday. And I've been thinking now, you know what, once a week or twice a week, I'm going to make a lavish meal, like a 3-course meal, even if it's by myself, and eat in fancy dishes. Because I remember growing up, I don't know if it was the same with you, Ropa, we took out the fancy dishes when the visitors came, right? And we didn't take out, well, at least that's what my mom said, until my dad said, so these visitors are the ones you take out the dishes from the display to serve, but for us, you don't, right? So yeah, so for me, at least, those are the things that I'm trying, right, to do for myself.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. And even um, what I want to talk about is stating what you want. Like, figure out what you want. So sometimes a lot of people, when we talk about self-care, we're talking about, pampering yourself, getting your nails done, pedicure, manicure, taking a bath and whatever. There's also, telling people what you need. That's also part of self-care as well. Like, let's say if you just need quiet time, let the people who you live with, your partner, your family, your kids or whatever, just let them know, I just need this time for myself. I need to refresh, gather my thoughts, and then when I come out, I can be the best version of me that I can be, and be able to give you what I have. And also, even if it's, spending time with your partner, if that's what you need, let him know, I need this time with you for my self-care. I need
Yeah.
for us to go out. Let's do a date night. Let's spend time together, because that's what I need at this point. And I think a lot of people don't really don't talk about what they need. We
Need
suffer in
and
silence,
want.
and we don't really, yeah, right? We suffer in silence and we don't really talk about it. So
Yeah.
even with friends, listen, I need a sounding board. I need somebody to talk to at this point, because that's what you need. That's what's going to help you care for yourself. So I think that's another thing to consider. That's another, angle that people need to also consider as well. If you need help with your
So
self-care,
articulate what you need. And part of that, I think it's advocating. We advocate for people that we care about, right? And so
yeah,
you also need to be a self advocate for yourself. And part of self
yep.
advocating is actually saying no. I know there are some people who struggle with saying no because they want to please everyone. But in the end, they end up getting burnt out. So using a voice to say, I need this, and also using your voice to be selfish and say, I want this, right? I want this in order to take care of myself. So I've also been thinking around,
Wait, sorry.
in terms,
Just wanted to say something quickly. There's this guy who was talking about going away for 3 days,
mhm.
on your own to go refresh, and he was kind of complaining that, oh well, women have a problem with that because they think, a man is gonna go cheat. What does he need the 3 days for, and all this stuff. But then when you're in a relationship, it's all about trust as well. You have to trust your person, and that person also has to trust you. There is going to
Mhm.
be a time where you will need that 3 days for yourself to do your thing as well. And you're going to also expect that person to give you that time. So also be respectful of other people's self-care times as well. And if the two of you have an understanding,
Mhm.
then it should be okay. Sorry, you were gonna say something. I kind of cut you off. You were gonna say
No,
another
that's okay.
another.
I was also thinking about self care in terms of it's something we've talked about, but I think it bears to be repeated, and it's something I posted on our forum here about self care by disconnecting from media, right? Digital. It's too much of anything is bad. It can't be a good thing, right? So our minds were not built to be constantly responding to notifications, right? Especially for people, who work in offices where they're always on the computer. So you're 8 hours on the computer, you're on your phone, you're on the television, you're on the iPad. It's toxic for your body. Oh, I didn't want to use that word. I feel like it's overused, but it is. That digital overload is toxic for your body. So it's important to disengage. And like you're saying, I like the idea of 3 days. And now that we're getting into summer, I have a friend who last year she intentionally their vacations were built around going to cabins where they didn't have access to like no Wi-Fi, right? So they could reconnect as a couple, but so that they could just be out in the nature to self-care, to rejuvenate, right? So
Yeah, that reminds me of that. Where's that wedding we went to? That that excursion. There was no internet. They did not tell us beforehand that there was not going to be any internet. So everybody gets there and everybody is outside with their phone going. I thought that was hilarious,
yeah,
hilarious.
there was absolutely nothing. But we ended up, well, besides the walk,
But it,
I
sorry,
enjoyed the basketball game that we played, remember?
yeah, yeah, that was fun. And there was that walk too where we kind of went past that the lake,
And there was a pasture, like there were cows and or
cows
horses.
and everything, and it was just so beautiful.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it. I had fun. I felt refreshed, though I really would have wanted to have been given a warning because we lost our service as we were going there and we had no idea. We were just basically um, dependent on GPS.
Yeah.
Lucky enough, GPS got us there. But then as soon as we got
Otherwise,
there, that was it. And then leaving the place, we couldn't use GPS until up to a certain point. So we're kind of going based on memory to go like, I think we turned here. And then last time I think we turned here. And then when we got to a place with our service, we
hmm
were able to use GPS to actually get back home.
yeah.
But
So that was an example of going somewhere out into, well, you can call the
exactly, but I
outdoors.
loved it. I really enjoyed it. I felt refreshed. Though I kind of cheated because my iPad uh I had downloaded some movies off of Netflix. So I kind of watched some movies here and there when I had time to myself. But
Yeah.
still, it was fun. Even the conversations that we had in the what is it? Was that the rec room or the living room area or whatever? That
Yeah. So
was
we managed to do some self care by disengaging. But I think for me, I wasn't that impressed. Well, that's not the
well,
purpose of
because
the
you had a
topic.
paper
But
that you had to submit, and you were
no, it
thinking you
wasn't
could.
that. It's because I was living and working in a similar environment. Remember?
Oh,
Yeah. So for me, it was like, oh.
I
Oh,
was
but
like, oh, okay, cool.
we say though that what, it's a future spot to go. Like even as a couple,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We're away. There are no phones here, right?
Yeah. And I totally agree. And I feel as a couple, that would be an ideal place, like you're saying, that would be an ideal place to go where you don't have anything to distract you from your
Talking.
intimacy that you're building. Are you talking? Are you, doing whatever extracurricular, whatever in the bedroom? Are you doing whatever you're doing? There's no internet, there's no phone service, there's nothing. It's just you and your person out in a little cabin by the lake.
By the lake, yeah, and it's just and it's just the two of you. And speaking
Yeah.
of as you're talking about this, I started thinking about people as well. So you know lately I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by really good friends. I think when I just sense that, you know what, you're not good for my spirit, even after I've tried, and I'm not saying that I cut people off intentionally, I don't. If we're not a good fit, then that relationship goes nowhere, whether it's friendship or whatever you. But what I wanted to touch on was part of taking care of yourself is getting rid of toxic people. Oh, I use it again. But getting rid of unhealthy
Who
people who
cares as
don't
long as it
contribute.
makes your point?
No, I don't like that word because I find in every conversation is, oh, like I was in a toxic environment. This is a toxic person. This is, yeah, it's
Because
kind
it
of.
was toxic.
No, yeah. For me, I think that there's so much vocabulary. So when a word is over, it was like the word nice, right? It was overused and it lost its meaning. But I wanted to say, you know what? Part of taking care of ourselves is that self advocacy of saying, you know what, this person is not healthy for my spirit, whether it's a friend, sometimes it's a relative, and it's a partner. You need to get rid of those people because you're not taking care of yourself if you keep that unhealthy environment around you, right?
Yeah, and if you're stuck with them in that same house, like roommates, there's some roommates that are very toxic. So
I know too much about you, dang.
very
One
toxic.
of these
So
days
you
you'll
can't you
surprise
can't you
me and you'll
can't get
tell
away
me.
from them because you live in the same house.
Yeah.
So what you can do is minimize the frequency of bumping into them in the hallways or whatever, right? Because they're just not good for you. Until you can get your own place or until you can go rent somewhere else, just try and stay away from them as much as possible. And I know there's certain people that will go out of their way to fish you out so they can, you know, taint you with their bed behaviors or intentionally go out of their way to poke at you. But until you can leave that situation, just try and avoid confrontations as much as possible, because that would be your self-care, making sure that you don't get driven to madness, I guess.
Yeah, by people. Yeah, we know that, there are people who can create a very healthy in unhealthy, I mean, environment about you, around you. Part of what I wanted to, well, actually, we this is often talked about, and it's pretty common sense. But sometimes when you mention something, I think it either motivates someone to do differently, or it gets someone, thinking. I just wanted to talk about, food as well. Most of us, live in a world with excess. Like we have excess. Like you go into the store, there are so many options in terms of items to choose. But part of taking care of your body as well is being intentional about what you put in, right? So we're talking about creating a healthy environment in terms of people you choose to be around you, but also what we take in. And so I got to a point, I guess, where, and I've said it many times, I sound like a broken record, where I'm very comfortable going shopping by myself because I would spend time looking at, certain products. But now I kind of have my food items down packed. But if an item has an ingredient list, take time to read it. Like make sure you know what you're putting in your body, right? I know that there's certain things that are not, regulated. Actually, things like supplements and whatever you, some of them are not regulated. But when it comes to food, as much as possible, pick things that have simple ingredients. I mean, your meat and your eggs and whatever you, that's a one ingredient thing. But I know for myself, being a vegetarian, like There are so many options for meat replacements. And some of those options, like they have 20 ingredients. And sometimes you can't even make out what those ingredients are.
Mm-hmm.
And in the long term, if you're fortunate enough to live long, in the long term, that has an impact on your body. And sometimes we're trying to figure out, well, how did I get this illness? Sometimes life happens, but sometimes it's the choices that we make in terms of what we put in our body.
Yeah, and the
As
thing
much
too
as
is
possible, yeah, be informed about
try.
what you're putting in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and be an intelligent consumer when you're purchasing food items. So
Yeah, what I wanted to say is try and go as close to natural as possible. And also try to make things from scratch as much as possible. That's why it would be nice as part of, like, family engagement or something, to make something from scratch. This guy was telling me he makes the best pierogies ever. He was telling me about this, and I was like, oh my god, I love pierogies, and I do love pierogies. I feel like that's one of my favorite foods out up there, right? But then it probably could be healthier if I would make my own pierogies as opposed to going to the store and getting, you know, pierogies from the store. I like the potato and onion, which is better than the cheese and whatever else is in there. But still, if I were to make my own pierogies, I bet you they probably would be healthier than, getting them from the store. So there's so many options, and I feel as a people we've become a little bit lazy. We just want instant. I just want to go to the store and pick up a bag of ready-made something. But they've put preservatives in there so that they don't go bad right away. So if you make your own things from scratch, then you're good to go. And everybody knows how to make stuff from scratch. Everybody knows how to make bread. There's like a 3 ingredient bread recipe that I found. And if you make it, there you go. But at the end of the day, it is also convenient to get bread. And when you do get the bread, get the whole grain, get the, sprouted grain one or whatever, so that at least you keep it healthy.
yeah, you keep it healthy. And that's the thing though. It's, within North America, and I'm sure with other environments, you're able to find something within your budget. I know, for instance, Safeway has a simple, like, whole grain, and it's a simple whole grain. It's not complicated. And if you find you're buying something and it takes a long time for that thing to go bad, it's not good for you. It can't be good for you, right? Certain things are
Yeah.
perishable items for a reason, right? So yeah, I just wanted to touch on food as well. I wanted to touch on
Exactly,
food.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so much we could talk about in terms of, taking care of yourself and doing the things that work for your body, like working out, exercise, and oh, I just wanted to say this. So the food that you put in your body
Hmm.
um determines also the scent that comes off of your body.
Hmm.
So that's one thing to think about if you're suffering from, and I know it's digressing a little bit, but not really. If you're suffering from, let's say, body odor that you are not too happy about, maybe also look into the kinds of foods that you're eating, because some of them might not be reacting with your body chemistry properly. So if you change it, and if you start eating things like cilantro, things like, those things that actually give you um, a more pleasant body odor. So anyway, I just thought to say that because, I found that out a while back, and I just never mentioned it. I'm pretty sure you guys know this already.
Well, it's important. Well, some people actually, we always, yeah, you never know. There's someone who might not know, and I know online too, like on YouTube, there are cleanses, like, like a shake that you can take, like, but making it yourself. It has celery. It has
Hmm.
very basic or neutral or alkaline type of food, right?
Hmm.
And also, part of taking care of yourself, I used to do this, but I haven't done this in years, was to do an annual detox. I know some people do a seasonal one, right? So, where you do an annual detox, where you essentially, take your taste buds to baseline,
Yeah.
and just cleanse your body. So, detoxes are an example as well of
What do
cleansing.
you use? What do you do on your on your detox? What are the recipes? What do you normally how do
There's
you
this
detox?
program I used to facilitate in. It's called CHIP. And so with CHIP, what they do is they use food to detox. I think the last time I tried
What
it
kinds
was
of
2
foods?
years ago. So it's, I guess the chip diet is very plant based. So then you would go with one day, I think you're just doing fruits, and then you do teas, and then you do salads, and then you do like whole grain. So you build up until day 7. I have it somewhere. I think I
Oh,
put
it's a
it.
7 day. It's a 7 day cleanse.
Yeah, it's a 7-day cleanse. And what I found, and then there are no spices, and there's no salt. And when I did it once, and no sugars, I did it once, and then on day 8, when I started eating again, like I could detect really salty food and sugary stuff. Like it was like, ooh, like it was really strong, right? Because my taste buds had been reset. But I remember when I did it in 2019 on day 5, I was working in a particular community, and one of my, I guess the people who reported to me at that time, she decided to have like a salmon. I was on a First Nations reserve. She decided to have like an event, and she cooks really good salmon. So she had one with mayonnaise, one was barbecued. I think there was bannock. I broke down. It was day 5, and I could not. I broke down.
You
But
know
in the
what? That
past, I've done.
sometimes
Uh,
sometimes it does happen like that though, where
yeah,
you're
the universe unintentionally sabotages you, or the universe is
no,
trying
no,
to.
the universe doesn't sabotage you. You gave in. Don't blame nobody.
You know what I mean. You say that, for instance, when you're trying to be on a diet, and I start suggesting things. Oh, let's go for a
But
Slurpee.
that's
Let's.
what happens though. Every
Yeah,
single time, if you're like really serious, I've noticed it whenever at work when I'm like really serious and I'm crunched for time, everybody is coming into my office. Oh, Ropa, can you do this? Can you do this? When I'm not too busy, nobody knocks at my door.
it's like
Well, okay,
people
everybody knocks
sense.
at my door most of the time, but it's like stop. And I had to
Stop.
put like a little thing at the door to go like I'm busy if it's not life or death, but somebody still tries to sneak in there, right? So
Yeah,
people do that, if, especially when you're on a diet, right? But anyway,
people
not to go on
sabotage.
a tangent or anything like that. I guess we're coming to the end
Mhm.
of our talk. I was just gonna say I did try the master cleanse. That one really did help me. I tried it for 10 days, and then I also tried the juice cleanse, where you're drinking juices for I think 10 days or a month. That one really helped. I did 10 days, so it detoxes because you're kind of just cleaning out your system. But anyway, what are your last words, Carnation?
My last words are just in intentionality. Be, I think one quote that has stuck with me that I heard recently, I think it was last year, it was treat yourself as someone that you love. Learn to self advocate. And if you're not intentional about carving out time for self care, something is going to happen and eat into that time. So treat yourself as someone that you love, be a strong advocate for yourself, and be intentional about self care.
Yeah, and have fun with it. So my last words would be, just have fun with it. Make sure that in taking time out for yourself, you're actually taking time out to refresh, to rejuvenate, to have fun. And that's the whole reason why you do need to self-care, so you can get that balance back, so you can hear your own thoughts, read a book. Books create new neural pathways in your in your brain. So give yourself that time to do that and care for yourself. So, with that, ladies, we will talk to you later. You guys have a great week, and we will see you later on A Sister's Back.
Yes, and I'm going as self-care, I'm going for a nice long walk.
Awesome. So talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.